Knowledge is a matter of science, and no dishonesty or conceit whatsoever is permissible. What is required is definitely the reverse: honesty and modesty. Complacency is we cannot really learn anything until we rid ourselves of complacency. Our attitude towards ourselves should be to be insatiable in learning, and towards others to be tireless in teaching. Some people have read a few Marxist books and think themselves quite learned, but what they have read has not penetrated, has not struck root in their minds, so that they do not know how to use it, and their class feelings remain as of old. Others are very conceited, and having learned some book phrases, think themselves terrific and are very cocky. But whenever a storm blows up, they take a stand very different from that of the workers and the majority of the peasants. They waver while the latter stand firm. They equivocate while the latter are forthright. Those experienced in work must take up the seriously. Only then will they be able to systematize and synthesize their experience and raise it to the level of theory. Only then will they not mistake their partial experience for universal truth and not commit empiricist errors. Now, there are two different attitudes towards learning from others. One is the dogmatic attitude of transplanting everything, whether or not it is suited to our conditions. This is no good. The other attitude is to use our heads and learn those things which suit our conditions, that is, to absorb whatever experience is useful to us. That. If we have a correct theory, but merely prate about it, pigeonhole it, and do not put it into practice, then that theory, however good, is of no significance. Without preparedness, superiority is not real superiority, and there can be no initiative either. Having grasped this point, a force which is inferior but prepared can often defeat a superior enemy by surprise attack. Weapons are an important factor in war, but not the decisive factor. It is people, not things, that are decisive. The contest of strength is not only power, but also a contest of human power and morale. Military and economic power is necessarily wielded by people. Every communist must grasp the truth. Political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. In studying a problem, we must shun subjectivity, one-sidedness, and superficiality. To be subjective means not to look at problems objectively, that is, not to use the materialist viewpoint in looking at problems. I've discussed this in my essay on practice. To be one-sided means not to look at problems all-sidedly, or it may be called seeing the part but not the whole, seeing the trees but not the forest. That way, it is impossible to find the method for resolving a contradiction. It is impossible to accomplish the tasks of the revolution, to carry out assignments well, or to develop inter-party ideological struggle correctly. When Sun Tzu said in discussing military science, "Know the enemy and know yourself, and you can fight 100 battles with no danger of defeat," he was referring to the two sides in a battle. Wei Cheng of the Tang dynasty also understood the era of one-sidedness when he said, "Listen to both sides and you will be enlightened. Heed only one side and you will be benighted." But our comrades often look at problems one-sidedly, and so they often run into snags. Lenin said, "In order really to know an object, we must embrace, study all its sides, all connections and mediations. We shall never achieve this completely, but the demand for all-sidedness is a safeguard against mistakes and rigidity." We should remember it means to consider neither the characteristics of a contradiction in totality nor the characteristics of each of its aspects. It means to deny the necessity for probing deeply into a thing and minutely studying the characteristics of its contradiction, but instead merely to look from afar and, after glimpsing the rough outline, immediately try to resolve the contradiction. To answer a question, settle a dispute, handle work, or direct a military operation. This way of doing things is bound to lead to trouble. To be one-sided and superficial is at the same time to be subjective. For all objective things are actually interconnected and are governed by inner laws, but instead of undertaking the task of reflecting things as they really are, some people only look at things one-sidedly or superficially and know neither their interconnections nor their inner laws, and so their method is subjectivist. One-sidedness means thinking in terms of absolutes, that is, a metaphysical approach to problems. In the appraisal of our work, it is one-sided to regard everything either as all positive or as all negative. To regard everything as positive is to see only the good and not the bad, and to tolerate only praise and no criticism. To talk as though our work is good in every respect is at variance with the facts. It is not true that everything is good. There are still shortcomings and mistakes. But neither is it true that everything is bad, and that too is at variance with the facts. Here analysis is necessary. To negate everything is to think, without having made any analysis, that nothing has been done well and that the great work of socialist construction, the great struggle in which hundreds of millions of people are participating, is a complete mess with nothing in it worth commending. Although there is a difference between the many people who hold such views and those who are hostile to the socialist system, these views are very mistaken and harmful and can only dishearten people. It is wrong to appraise our work either from the viewpoint that everything is positive or from the viewpoint that everything is negative. In approaching a problem, a Marxist should see the whole as well as the parts. A frog in a well says, "The sky is no bigger than the mouth of the well." That is untrue, for the sky is not just the size of the mouth of the well. If it said, "A part of the sky is the size of the mouth of a well," that would be true, for it tallies with the facts. We must learn to look at problems all-sidedly, seeing the reverse as well as the obverse side of things. In given conditions, a bad thing can lead to good results, and a good thing to bad results. Don't wait until problems pile up and cause a lot of trouble before trying to solve them. Leaders must march ahead of the movement, not lag behind it. There is a gap between the ordinary civilian and the soldier, but it is no great wall, and it can be quickly closed, and the way to close it is to take part in revolution, in war. By saying that it is not easy to learn and to apply, we mean that it is hard to learn thoroughly and to apply skillfully. By saying that civilians can very quickly become soldiers, we mean that it is not difficult to cross the threshold. To put the two statements together, we may cite the Chinese adage, "Nothing in the world is difficult for one who sets his mind to it." To cross the threshold is not difficult, and mastery, too, is possible, provided one sets one's mind to the task and is good at learning.